scoot in. Yeah, squeeze in there a little bit. Okay, we'll get started if everyone's settled. We're here today to talk about the vicious murder of one of our community members, Jampier Quintero, and the arrest of Chantharangsy for his murder. On April the 19th, a Saturday evening around 5 p.m., suspect Chantharangsy was getting his hair cut near Belmont and Van Ness at the Los Viejones Barbershop. While he was getting his hair cut, he was wearing his drape, and a couple of rival gang members came in and they started challenging each other verbally when Chantharangsy produced a handgun from underneath his haircut drape and began shooting at the rivals. As the rivals ran out of the barbershop, he continued to shoot, shooting a total of approximately 4 rounds. One of those rounds struck Jampier Quintero in the abdomen area. The other round struck 2 other males who we later contacted but were uncooperative with our investigation. Jampier was minding his own business. He was with his 5 and 11-year-old sons getting into his car the day before Easter when he was fatally struck. Despite life-saving efforts at the scene and a transport to CRMC, he passed away the following day on Easter when his family should have been celebrating. They were unfortunately grieving his loss. Chantharangsy, he got in a car at the scene and he left with an individual we later identified as Adrian Echeverria. Immediately thereafter, detectives responded to the scene to begin their investigation, and that investigation would last for nearly a week, with between 12 and 14 detectives working pretty much nonstop all week to develop leads, conduct follow-up interviews, use various means of technology to help determine who this suspect was, and believe me, they worked tirelessly. Those detectives, some of them here are felony assault detectives, are homicide detectives, and their leadership took this case very seriously, as you can see, and really took it to heart to find the killer of Jampier. Once detectives did identify him, they actually were able to do that by connecting him to another shooting that happened a few days earlier in northeast Fresno. So it turned out that he's actually been arrested, and I'll let the DA get into the charges for 2 separate shootings. Kobe was. Once Kobe Chantharangsy was identified, our street violence tactical team, a plainclothes unit, immediately set about locating him and apprehending him. They worked 2 days straight over the weekend to locate him, which they did with the help of our local parole agents. And then they began surveilling him, noticing that he was armed and attempting to make sure that they conducted a safe takedown that didn't endanger any members of the public. They eventually located him or followed him to a residence in southwest Fresno where they made contact with him, and he refused to come out for about 45 minutes while we continued to negotiate with him. He eventually peacefully surrendered and was taken into custody. The firearm is still outstanding at this time. I just, again, want to thank my detectives, because without you, none of this happens. Jampier's wife, behind me here, we're hoping that although we can't bring Jampier back for her or her children, that at least she gets a measure of justice because of the hard work of these detectives who helped to investigate the prior shooting that led into identification of the homicides of Kobe Chantharangsy for homicide, and then of course our homicide detectives and their lieutenant for putting this all together, as well as parole and our perennial partners at the district attorney's office for charging this case and helping us to make sure that Kobe Chantharangsy is brought to justice for the sake of Jampier Quintero's family. I think with that, I'll go ahead and take some questions. Anybody?
Were the 2 other victims that were shot in the triple shooting, were they known gang members?
They were known, and I'm sorry, I meant to bring on the district attorney's office, the partner I mentioned, and so that they can talk to you more about the charges. But yes, those were as well. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Thank you, Chief. Before I begin, I would like to extend my condolences to Mr. Quintero's family, who is here. We're very sorry for your loss. And I also want to compliment the Fresno Police Department on excellent work here, and also thank our Chief Deputy District Attorney, Deborah Miller, who's here. She's the chief of our homicide unit. Many of you are becoming very familiar with her. Mr. Chantharangsy has been charged with 1 count of first-degree murder with special circumstances that will make him eligible for either life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. And again, as many of you know from prior press conferences, that determination will be made after the preliminary hearing. He is also charged with 3 additional counts of attempted murder, 2 for 2 counts that occurred on April the 19th and 1 that the chief referenced that happened the day before on April the 18th. Mr. Echeverria, who is the person who the chief referred to as the person who drove him away, will be charged with 1 count of PC 32, which is accessory after the fact, and his maximum exposure is 6 years in the state prison. The bail amount for the murder suspect, who is now the murder defendant, is $6.2 million, and Mr. Echeverria is in on $150,000 bail at this time. This case will be arraigned on April the 30th in Department 32, and Senior Deputy District Attorney Kendall Reynolds will be the assigned prosecutor. And I'll turn it back over to the chief at this time.
Yes, and I will mention this is our 7th murder of the year. Last year, this time we had 11. This is only our 2nd gang-related murder of the year for this year, which is a decrease from last year. I also want to mention this murder is top of our minds. Obviously, we're talking about it, and Mr. Quintero's family is here. We're also still working another unsolved murder. We only have 1 from this year, and that's Mr. Taylor Washington that happened back on in April, just a few days before this. And I just want to assure the community that every murder is investigated to the nth degree. We spare no expense. Some take a little longer than others, but they never turn cold for us. We keep investigating and turning over every rock as it becomes apparent to us. So with that, I will take questions now.
Was there a lot of difficulty because there were folks that were being uncooperative during the investigation process?
It certainly didn't help it, but obviously we have many different ways. There were so many bystanders and just different people and other areas that we could explore for follow-up that helped us piece everything together.
And there was any surveillance video in the area that kind of?
Now, you know, I believe there was, but I'd have to let the lieutenant give you any specifics on that. Do you want to share any, or is that something we don't want to discuss specificity?
There were, I'm Detective E, Fresno Police Department. There was some, obviously in most cases, and in today's society, as we, you know, there are a lot of surveillance cameras on the surrounding businesses. So yes, we did canvass the surrounding area, and we did recover some surveillance footage, yes.
Okay, next, anybody?
You mentioned that the murder weapon is still at large. How important is it going to be able to locate that weapon?
That's just one piece of many pieces of evidence to prosecute this case. So although it would certainly be ideal if it were recovered, that is not the most important piece of evidence to move this case forward, as evidenced by the commitment by our district attorney's office to prosecute it. Oh, Ms. Quintero prefers not to speak today, but we're just so thankful that she found the strength to be here. I was hoping that she would be here, but obviously it's a very difficult time for them. It's so fresh and so raw. I'm sure she hasn't really come down off of the shock of everything. So we'd like to, although we appreciate her here and allowing us to share her story of her loss with the community, we won't have her speak today.
And the shooter, he was arrested for another shooting, right? So,
well, actually, he was arrested
in
both.
custody?
No, he was not in custody.
Okay.
No, we had a shooting, I think it was the day before, or within a day or two. And as detectives, these detectives, our felony assault detectives, were investigating that shooting. Then this murder happened, and they were able to piece them together that they were both related. And so when he was arrested, it was for both simultaneously.
And was there any problems with the arrest? Was he cooperative?
Well, he was less than cooperative, but he was arrested without incident. He took a little while, about 45 minutes, to come out of the residence where he was located. While we call it a surround and call out, but eventually he did come out and was taken into custody without any further incident. Other questions?
For you,
Yes.
You know, an incident like this, I mean, all the murders are bad. I'd imagine, you know, this was somebody that was just getting a haircut with his kids?
It was heartbreaking, and sometimes we let the facts get in front, but the emotion of this is horrible. We don't have that many victims that just are minding their own business and actually get shot and killed in this manner, and it's very shocking to, I think, the whole community, and that's why we're here today. Every murder is important, there's no doubt about that, but someone who's just minding their own business, in this case, it really can put fear in a community, and that's why we want to be able to reassure that when something like this does happen, the Fresno Police Department is going to spare no expense at bringing the suspect to justice.
You might have mentioned this earlier, but Adrian Echeverria, he was the getaway driver?
Correct.
How far away was he from the scene?
Yeah, he was very close. I don't know, like feet or yards, but very close.
Has PD had any interaction with either of these suspects?
Yes, I can speak for Mr. Chantharangsy. We've had numerous criminal contacts with him, but he doesn't have any convictions. So I wouldn't want to get specific since they aren't convictions.
But obviously he's a known gang.
He's known to Fresno PD for his activities, and they're not law-abiding. Anybody else? Thank you all for coming here today. I appreciate it.